Good Friday afternoon. Thanks for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Chris Arapsky. This afternoon, Edina police are releasing new information about a shooting earlier today. Police tell us that they were called to a scene on York Avenue South about 10:45 this morning. That location is near M Health Fairview Hospital. It's also just blocks away from where there was a deadly shooting in Edina last week. Police say when they arrived, they found a man who had been shot. He was taken to HCMC with serious injuries, but we do not know his current condition. According to police, the suspect, who is also a man, drove away from the scene before they arrived, but he has since been arrested in Brooklyn Park, police tell us. Police say they believe this was a domestic incident, but they don't know what the relationship was between the two at this time. They also addressed this being the second shooting in that area in 2 weeks, saying that's purely coincidental and the two shootings have nothing to do with one another. We're also following breaking news out of Virginia, Minnesota, where the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension is investigating a police use of force incident. That's about an hour north of Duluth there in the Iron Range. Our sister station in Duluth reports officers responded to a man walking around waving a gun. At one point, at least one shot was fired, according to police. No officers were hurt, but right now we don't know the condition of the man shot who was holding the gun. We will stick with this story, bring you the very latest as soon as we know more. Just in this afternoon, President Trump says he's not satisfied with Iran's newest peace plan after dismissing the previous offer over Iran's nuclear program issue.
Iran wants to make a deal because they have no military left, essentially, and they want to make a deal, but I'm not satisfied with it.
It's still not clear what the new proposal included, and the president didn't elaborate on the proposal's shortcomings. But this comes as the war with Iran hit a critical 60-day milestone today. Without approval from Congress, the law mandates that the president must terminate any use of U.S. forces. But on Capitol Hill, Republicans are resisting the push to curb the president's powers despite that deadline today. Cost of filling up gas continues to get more expensive as a stalemate in the Strait of Hormuz continues. John Lawrence reports on how it's impacting Americans' wallets.
The cost of gas in the U.S. hits a high not seen in almost half a decade.
I used to fill it up at 60, 80 bucks. Now I'm looking at between 130, 150.
After sliding down slightly for nearly 2 weeks earlier this month, the national average shot up almost 30 cents over the past few days, according to AAA.
People are suffering, that's for sure. I get a lot of people coming in, with $5 or $10, and that's all they can afford.
These increases are especially tough for workers who use their vehicles to get products from point A to point B.
We try to strategize our deliveries to make sure that we're planning efficient routes and, not doubling back on things so we can be as efficient as possible. But yeah, it obviously costs more to fill up the tank every time.
Some Americans are trying to save money by taking public transportation.
When fuel prices go up, we see more people taking transit because it's the most affordable way to get to where they need to go.
On Thursday, President Donald Trump said gas prices will fall once the war with Iran is over.
It'll drop like a rock. There's so much of it. It's all over the place, sitting all over the oceans of the world. And it'll go down.
But in the meantime, commuters will have to deal with paying more at the pump.
Gas is not a nice to have, it's a need to have.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
The longest government shutdown in U.S. history is over. President Trump signed a bill funding most of Homeland Security just hours after it passed the U.S. House. The bill will reopen key parts of the department, including TSA, but it leaves out funding for ICE. Democratic lawmakers refused to fund immigration enforcement without significant changes in the wake of the shootings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy here in Minnesota. Now, Republicans will have to find a way to fund ICE without Democratic votes using a complex budget reconciliation process. This afternoon, King Charles is continuing his overseas tour after a 4-day visit to the U.S. as Queen Camilla returned to England. Now President Trump is announcing that he will lift tariffs on whiskey from Britain as a toast to the king. NBC's Raph Sanchez has the latest from London.
King Charles and Queen Camilla wrapping up their whirlwind 4-day state visit to the United States with a final red carpet farewell at the White House. President Trump, who has always been a big admirer of the monarchy, praising Charles as the greatest king and sending the royal couple home with a parting gift. The president announcing on Truth Social that he is lifting tariffs on British-made whiskey. That is a big priority for the UK, and the president saying in his post that he did it in honor of the king and queen. He says the king and queen got me to do something that nobody else was able to do without hardly even asking. It caps what has been a successful state visit after what had been a rocky couple of weeks in the US-UK relationship. There had been a lot of tension between President Trump and the British Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, over the UK's refusal to join the war with Iran. The president also very critical of NATO. But a little royal diplomacy seems to have gone a long way to steadying the special relationship. Raf Sanchez, NBC News, London.
Today, St. Paul homicide detectives investigating a shooting at the Sibley Park Apartments. It's off East 7th Street and North Sibley Street. Police say a man called just before 9 p.m. yesterday saying he had been shot. He was brought to the hospital where he later died. Investigators are working to find out what led up to that shooting. They say they don't believe there's a threat to the community there. Right now, a man is dead and his brother's in custody after a stabbing in Minneapolis. This happened about 3 o'clock yesterday morning near the intersection of 30th and Girard. It's in the Jordan neighborhood. Minneapolis police say they arrived and tried to perform CPR, but the victim died. They say they're still trying to figure out what led up to that stabbing. Right now at the state capitol, a bill to help fund HCMC is heading to the Senate floor. The Senate Taxes Committee advanced a proposal raising Hennepin County sales tax from 0.15 to 0.25. A similar proposal in the House has not gone very far. Hospital leaders say rising costs and federal cuts are driving HCMC further into debt. 5 medical programs and 100 employees have already been cut.
Over time, it kind of became more and more severe in terms of the messaging, but this was the first time where people I knew really well, who were amazing with patients, provided amazing care, were dismissed from their positions, and the patients could not be seen for these conditions anymore.
Hospital leaders say financing has to change, with some proposing partnering with others to create larger systems. HCMC could start closing as early as June if lawmakers don't agree on some kind of financial help by the end of the session. Well, the T-Wolves, I don't know if you saw the game last night, but they won. They're heading to the second round of the playoffs. Awesome. With all that excitement, there's also new momentum behind a potential new home for the team as well, just a few blocks from Target Center. Mayor Jacob Frey is reportedly backing a plan to build an arena at the city center site of Nicollet Mall. Kent Erdahl has a closer look at what this could mean.
As the Timberwolves search for a new home beyond the walls of Target Center, there are some who hope they don't overlook the option 2 blocks down.
The mayor likes the idea. He made that very clear to me.
Reporter Nick Halter with Axios Twin Cities was the first with the scoop that Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey prefers transforming the city center complex, which could offer up to 40% more room with some demolition.
If I'm looking at a tower here, that would have to come down. 2 things. The tower is the 4th tallest in the city. It's 52 stories, I believe. Some estimates I've heard $25 million to tear it down. Some I've heard $50 million to tear it down. The other big factor is that the hotel, the Marriott right here on the site, is owned separately.
If a sale is possible, Frey confirmed his excitement, telling us he can imagine a fully pedestrianized Nicollet Mall where people can walk to games and concerts with shops and outdoor seating activated up and down the street in all 4 seasons.
Well, what do we know about what the Wolves want? The Wolves have made it very clear that they want to build an arena with an entertainment district around it, and that is one of the challenges with the city center site, and I think is that it is sort of boxed in.
Wolves ownership has previously mentioned the Minneapolis Farmers Market as a possible site with extra space, but a more central option isn't out of the question.
The mayor has suggested, well, you do have buildings around here that you can buy on the cheap. Looking at the Dayton's building right here, it's going through foreclosure likely. Could you build an entertainment complex in there?
Kent Erdahl reporting there. Stick with us. We got more news and weather coming up after the break.